Okay, so we'll get started within the essence of time. I know people are probably still trickling in, coming in, and getting on the webinar. Hopefully you're in the right place. This is educating drivers on sharing the road, what works, and how to make it happen, presented by the League of American Bicyclists. We have a great webinar for you today. This is focused on the League's bicycle-friendly driver training program. It's used in a variety of different ways across the country. So we're going to talk about how a couple of communities are using it and campuses. Um, Bicycle Friendly Driver is a motorist-focused training program designed to educate motorists on how and why cyclists navigate roadways the way they do, with the goal of fostering a mutual understanding and for safer streets for all users. So in this session, we're going to hear from a couple of communities and how they're using the Bicycle Friendly Driver training program and making an impact. Uh, so I'm Allison Dewey. I'm the Director of Education here at the League. And I'm going to first, before we get into our two amazing presenters, I'm going to give a few announcements and give a little bit, just a really quick background on the League. But just a couple reminders. The session is being recorded and will be posted later on our YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Bike League. It'll also be posted on our website at bikeleague.org/webinars. We're going to hear from our two speakers, and then we'll do question and answer at the very end. So if you have a question, don't lose it. Enter it in the chat function, and we'll get to it at the end. Also, just a reminder that closed captioning is available, so please make use of that. Okay, a little bit about the League of American Bicyclists. We're a national nonprofit working for a more bicycle-friendly America for everyone. We have national programs, and we primarily work through advocating for better bicycling across the country. We have a robust education program. We have a policy team and some really robust programs. Bicycle Friendly America is a great program that incorporates communities, businesses, universities, and states. You can find more about us at bikeleague.org. Okay, and then we have a big announcement today. We're releasing a new video series that is focused on truck drivers. The series is called Big Trucks and Bikes, Educational Videos for Truck Drivers. Sadly, these are a result of the tragic death of Sarah Langenkamp, who was killed by a flatbed truck when she was riding in a bike lane in Bethesda, Maryland. So we are honoring Sarah's life by doing our best to educate truck drivers everywhere across the country that are on our roadways. The three videos that are part of the series, the first one has to do with common crashes, just getting awareness of what are some of the more common collisions between trucks and bicyclists, bike lanes and safety, and then some additional information on safety for truck drivers. They're available in English and Spanish. So we're really excited to be releasing those and distributing those as broadly as possible. So you're the first group to get to see these. They are available. There's a QR code that you can access them through. They're available on our YouTube channel. They're also available on our Learning Center, which is located at learn.bikeleague.org. It's all free. You do have to create an account to access them, but well worth it because in the Learning Center, you also get quizzes with them as a way of just kind of testing your knowledge. Um, the other thing to note about these videos is that they are uh, kind of outside the realm of our typical bike education program. We really had the intention of um, simplifying the language or not using as much insider bike language as maybe you'll find in some of our other resources. These are really focused on drivers of trucks that really are probably not cyclists. So you might see a few differences there in some of the things that we're talking about and how we talk about them on there. Okay, so now we get to our speakers, which is exciting stuff. Our first speaker is Jamie Gaskill, and the knack for program development, she creatively applies the League Smart Cycling program to engage diverse audiences and promote cycling across the nation. Since becoming the League cycling instructor, an LCI, in 2014, Jamie has led impactful educational initiatives, including managing over 120 volunteer bicycle ambassadors for the city of Fort Collins, where she empowers individuals to teach safe cycling practices. She is a league cycling coach and has facilitated dozens of league instructor seminars as a contractor for the league. Jamie currently serves as the Associate Director of Active Transportation at Colorado State University, a platinum level bicycle friendly university, where she leads efforts to expand transportation options and accessibility for students, staff, and visitors alike. In 2015, Jamie spearheaded the development of the groundbreaking bicycle-friendly driver course, which has revolutionized cycling education nationwide. The program has reached 47 states and 5 countries and serves as the official motor vehicle driver education component of the League Smart Cycling program. Recognized for her leadership, Jamie was named Educator of the Year by the League in 2019 and Emerging Leader by the Association of Commuter Transportation in 2024. We give a really warm welcome to Jamie Gaskill for this webinar. After Jamie speaks, we'll have Oliver Sendell, who is from Bike Walk, North Carolina. Oliver is a program manager at Bike Walk NC, where he leads the organization's efforts to schedule and present the NC Friendly Driver Program. He coordinates the planning of the annual NC Bike Walk Transportation Summit, while also managing the grant reporting and claims process. Oliver grew up exploring the Raleigh Greenways system, which has led to a love of cycling in all forms. After receiving his BS in Parks and Recreation Management from North Carolina State University, he worked extensively in community recreation programming before pursuing a Master's of Public Administration at Florida Gulf Coast University. While enrolled in the program, Oliver concentrated his studies in planning, in particular issues related to bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. In addition to several years of experience working in private sector planning after the completion of his master's degree, Oliver has extensive professional experience in event management. He enjoys applying the skills and knowledge gained from this diverse experience to his role with Bike Walk NC. So we also give a warm welcome to Oliver and look forward to his presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie and let her take the reins.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Allison. Let me just switch over here. Awesome. So again, my name is Jamie Gaskill, and I just want to thank Allison and the League for having me here today, and all of you who are taking the time to attend this webinar. It's truly a privilege to get to talk to you about my experience with Bicycle Friendly Driver and the work that we're doing here in Fort Collins, as well as Colorado State University. So in my presentation, I would like to go a little bit over the origin of bicycle-friendly driver, because I feel like that it might give you some ideas for how you can help utilize this curriculum in your own communities. And then I'll do a little bit about our bicycle-friendly community here in Fort Collins. I'll talk about BFD in the city itself, and then at CSU. I can't talk about one without the other because we do have a really great town-gown relationship here in Fort Collins. And then I'll do some lessons learned for some other nuggets for you to take away from the presentation today. So bicycle-friendly drivers started back in 2015 after our community experienced two fatal crashes involving bicyclists. One was in 2014 and was a friend of mine named Ernesto. And if you see this headline here in the top left corner, you'll see the story that was in the local newspaper about it. After these two fatal crashes, the community came together at a town hall saying, we need to fix this. We need to do something different here. We need to figure out how to make sure that these crashes don't happen again. And so this photo that you see here is from the town hall, where we had over 200 people come together to try to talk about what's needed to solve this issue. The biggest takeaway from it was that we needed to educate motor vehicle drivers how to share the road safely with people on bikes. And at the time, I was serving in the education specialist role for the city of Fort Collins. And so I took it upon myself and the organization to work with our local advocacy group, and as well as some of the bicycle ambassadors that I was working with at the time, to develop this motor vehicle driver-focused curriculum. And with it, we decided to assign a certification as well as a sticker to make it more official. And we launched the program in Fort Collins in 2015. And we had this, over that first year, just absolutely tremendous success. We literally went and knocked on doors of businesses who had people who drove as part of their job. And the reason that we did that was because we figured that those people had the most time behind the wheel of anybody in our community. And so that's why we focused on them first. We also focused on them because we felt like it would be a benefit to the organizations where we were taking this curriculum, and we could through those organizations encourage employees to attend. So with our huge success, we knew we had something special. And so I created a toolkit for other communities to use that I launched at the National Bike Summit in 2017. And since then, you heard it's gone across the country and even outside the country. And I'm just really thrilled that this program that was started in Little Fort Collins, Colorado, has done so well, and has really truly made such an impact in the country. So I come from a very, very bike-friendly place that is, we have a platinum bicycle-friendly community. We've got 4 platinum level bicycle-friendly businesses here. The university where I work is a platinum level bicycle-friendly university. But that doesn't mean that even if you don't come from a a platinum level bicycle-friendly community or whatever, that this can't be a benefit to you. And I talk about this because I want you to know that I feel like the reason that we're platinum now is because we started with things like education initiatives and encouragement initiatives to really build that culture that valued bicycling as a form of transportation. And so we didn't become platinum overnight. We became platinum over the years because we really invested in things like offering training like Bicycle Friendly Driver to our community members. So in Fort Collins itself, I want to mention that I no longer work for the city, but my colleague Lauren Nagel, who I work very closely with, is running the adult bicycling education for the city now. But they've been doing a lot of great things to continue to evolve how Bicycle Friendly Driver is offered in our community. And so I'm going to highlight a few of those here. So one of the first things that we did when we started Bicycle Friendly Driver is we went to our own bus drivers and we said, hey, we want to make sure that all of our bus operators are trained as bicycle friendly drivers. And you can see that picture of the transport bus down in the bottom right there. If you look on the right hand side of it, there's actually a bicycle friendly driver sticker on the back of the bus, because every single transport driver, it's part of their new hire orientation to take the training. The city also offers the training to their natural area staff, their park staff, and others who drive as part of their job. And they're also offering it to businesses like, the groups of real estate agents, because they're driving as part of their work, or breweries that do deliveries, and materials haulers like dump truck drivers and things like that. Looking for, again, those folks who might have this as part of their role. The city also offers it to the general public in a couple different formats, so online or in person. And we at CSU actually refer folks who from CSU to some of those trainings as well. And Lauren and I were having a conversation recently about the fact that these more traditional kind of online, in-person, like classroom sessions don't always go over as well with just the general public. So we try to find other creative ways to work this curriculum into whatever that we're doing, because we think it's that important. So one of those ways is through high schools. And so we have worked to do things like getting it into the freshman seminar, a class that's required of all freshmen. And we took it to the high schools and said, hey, what do you think about offering this driver training to all of these students, since they're soon going to be getting their licenses? So we've taught it there. We've also taught it in a class called Adventure PE, which is a really cool class where they actually get to do lots of different things. But one of the days they actually get to go out on their bikes. So they do some kind of smart cycling like education on their bikes. And then the next time that they meet, they get to do bicycle friendly driver. So it's a really nice combination where they get to do the on bike, and then they also get to do the driver side of it. The city is also offering it as professional development for their own internal staff, as well as for businesses outside of the city. And then they also do a municipal court restorative traffic circle program. It's a citation diversion program. And in that, I was talking to Lauren about this, and she said that Lauren said that in the classes that they're not always doing that whole bicycle friendly driver curriculum, but they're really working in the principles, the most important principles during those traffic circle conversations. And then the city is looking to transition their program branding to Fort Collins friendly driver, and then incorporating even more of the pedestrian focused education as well. Now at CSU, where I work, we feel like it's important to offer bicycle friendly driver for a number of reasons. You can see here on the right, this is we do an annual transportation survey that kind of gauges, what are our mode splits? How are people traveling to CSU? And the most recent data that we collected this past February is showing that over 60% of our students and the 25% of our employees are using active modes or transit to get here and around campus. We also, our university, we've got 18,000 bike parking spots. We only have 13,000 car parking spots. We have 14 miles of bike trails on our campuses. We have a formal Vision Zero program that's focused on safety and reducing crashes that result in fatalities or serious injuries. We have policies in place that support this kind of work. And really, at the end of the day, for us, this is about creating a welcoming environment for everyone who comes here, even if not only for the active modes users, but also for people who are driving here. We feel like it's important for people who are driving here. If you've never driven on a campus environment where 30,000 plus people are moving around at the same time, it can be pretty overwhelming. And so we feel like that this education is key for helping people feel welcome, no matter how they're traveling on our campuses. So in terms of the actual how we incorporate bicycle friendly driver at CSU, we do it in a number of ways. And these pictures that you see here on the left are actual pictures that we've taken on campus that we use as teaching tools during our training. So we look for these opportunities to say, here's what you shouldn't do and here's what you should do. And then we kind of talk through those examples with the people who are participating in classes. But in terms of who's offering these trainings, our central receiving department was the very first here at CSU. They've been offering it since the very early days of Bicycle Friendly Driver, and they started with in-person classes, and they were offering those to all of their new hires every time they came in. And eventually they shifted over to Bicycle Colorado's shift driving module. So I worked with Bicycle Colorado a few years ago to develop an online module that's kind of a fun, interactive version of Bicycle Friendly Driver. And now Central Receiving is using their online module to offer this training as part of new hire orientation for any incoming staff. And then when they take that training, they can get a certificate at the end to show that they've completed it. And I think that Marley's going to add a link about that in the chat in case you're interested. We also have our outdoor maintenance crew, like our grounds maintenance people, who have chosen to offer this as an in-person class. And we the last time that we offered it, we actually published a story in the university's newsletter to celebrate the fact that they're committing to training their staff and celebrating what Central Receiving is doing as well. And we also do bicycle friendly driver as part of our staff development sessions. So we have every January, it's called Professional Development Institute, where it's open to all staff to do a week of professional development. We offer it during that. We also offer it during our housing and dining departments, professional development sessions that they offer. And then we've incorporated bicycle friendly driver principles into CSU Moves. And CSU Moves is an online education module that we develop for our incoming students. And so the module itself covers all modes of transportation, but one of them is about driving. And we've incorporated principles from the BFD curriculum into that. And then we do have formal policies that support this work as well. We've got one about operating service carts, like golf carts on our campus, as well as vehicle access. So anyone who's driving a work vehicle on our campus has to follow these policies. And then we are working on trying to make it a mandatory requirement for bicycle-friendly driver to be offered to all staff who operate vehicles here on our campus. And then just a few lessons learned before I turn it over to Oliver. But just wanted to say, how do you all take this and implement this in your communities? The first thing I want to say is pound the pavement. Truly go and look for those opportunities anywhere that you can find them to offer this training. For us, it literally was knocking on doors, sometimes of a trailer of the person that worked at the materials hauler, then looking for the safety and risk person to say, hey, we really think that your materials hauler should take this training. And if you're framing it as a safety and crash prevention tool, that piques the interest of somebody who's working at an organization like that. So make sure you're framing it in a way that's really a benefit to whoever is going to be allowing you to offer it to their clients, to their employees, or to their students, whoever it is that you might be working with. And then I would say celebrate those who offer the training or take the training. One of the things that we did when we launched Bicycle Friendly Driver is that we really played up all the organizations that signed on to let us offer it at their business. We published all of the business names in a newspaper ad. And then, the source story that I think is being shared in the chat is a way that we celebrate even within Colorado State University, the different, divisions that are committing to safety by offering this training. And then I personally really, really love the 60 to 90-minute version of Bicycle Friendly Driver that's in person, and it's a more traditional learning environment. I feel like there's richer conversation that comes from it. People really take a lot from it. But I also know that from doing this for years and years that it's not always realistic. So if you can't offer the 60 to 90-minute in-person, version, look for your in. How can you make it happen? Even if it's that you're doing a 10-minute spiel at a safety meeting for some department somewhere or whatever it is, look for the in and take the content and the snippets, the most important snippets, and get it in there, because sometimes that's going to be your in for the longer version or for the full certification course or whatever you decide to do with it in your community. And then also be looking for those local examples that you can capture. Take pictures. I showed you some pictures of some local examples that we took for the CSU one. This picture here that in this slide is from Fort Collins. But look for those things that you can capture, because it really helps it hit home for people who are learning from you. And then the last thing I want to say as a nugget to take away from this is teach this from the driver's perspective. It's Allison was talking about how with the truck driver videos that, you know, the way they're framed is very intentional. And I would say that after teaching this curriculum literally to thousands of people, that you must not come in with your cyclist advocate hat on, but you come in with your, I'm a driver and I'm teaching you how to be a safer driver, and I'm teaching you how to share the road safely with all people and to keep yourself safe as well. So keep that in mind as you're not only teaching this yourself or having those conversations with folks. Really important to keep the driver really at the heart of it. And the one side benefit of bicycle friendly driver is it also helps teach cyclists how to be safer cyclists, which is one of the things that I love best about it. You kind of get both in the same training. So with that, I'm going to close my part of the training here, and then I'm gonna switch it over to Oliver.
All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. See if I can get myself set up here. All right. So, again, my name's Oliver Sendel, and I work with Bike Walk North Carolina. And I'll talk a little bit today about our North Carolina Friendly Driver Program. You'll notice we do not call this the Bicycle Friendly Driver Program. I'll talk a little bit about how we've adapted the original content of the Bicycle Friendly Driver Program that we were lucky enough to pull from Fort Collins and from the League, and have adapted that to include pedestrian content as well as some North Carolina specific content. And what we see this program as is a great filler, bridging the gap in the driver education process. We see, we'll talk a little bit about the different audiences that we target, but recognizing that bicycle and pedestrian content is not something that drivers receive a great deal of. And so exposing them to that again through the lens of the driver rather than again the bicycle advocate telling them what they should be doing, approaching it through the lens of the driver and sharing that content and information with them. So a little bit about Bike Walk North Carolina. You know, our mission is to lead and support advocacy and educational efforts throughout the state that fairly and equitably serve bicyclists, pedestrians, and all others using active mobility and human-powered transportation. And a little bit about our Friendly Driver Program. Again, the North Carolina Friendly Driver Program began as the North Carolina Bicycle Friendly Driver Program. And it existed as that for a year before recognizing as Bike Walk North Carolina that we had a responsibility to serve the pedestrians as well. So adding some pedestrian content to that, but having that template in place from the Bicycle Friendly Driver Program really gave us a launching pad and a template obviously to work from and build on rather than having to create that pedestrian content from scratch. Again, began in 2002, so we're in coming up on our fourth or fifth year on that. And again, adapted that content from the Fort Collins Bicycle Friendly Driver Program for more specific North Carolina content. And again, recognizing as a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy organization that need for pedestrian content and how much of the same principles that we're teaching here to drivers can be applied both to bicycles and pedestrians. So to include that pedestrian content just makes sense to equitably serve kind of all those active transportation and vulnerable road users. So again, some of that content specific to North Carolina, you know, in many other states, this will be the same, but, you know, identifying key takeaways. You know, Jamie talked about having versions of your program that can be 20 minutes long, whatever it takes to get the foot in the door to be able to present to an audience. If you start with a framework of key takeaways, you can build from that. So, you know, we have a roughly 180 slide deck that we present to the Governor's Highway Safety Program each year for approval. So from that, we can adapt, obviously, never doing probably more than 50 or 60 slides at a time. Our most common version is about 40 slides, but being able to pull and adapt that content to the different audiences. We have some that's specific to bus drivers, some specific to school bus drivers. But again, if you start from that key foundation, those key takeaways, and build from that, you can really adapt it to what audience it is. And that first key takeaway for us is that communicating to drivers that a bicycle by law in the state of North Carolina is a vehicle. And you'll see there, we always have the state statutes cited there. But then skipping ahead, as a vehicle, just like any other vehicle, a bicycle is entitled to the full lane. That is another key one that if people aren't getting anything else from this presentation, these are the pieces that they can take away and remember. Passing a person on the bike, changing lanes to pass is the safest way. 4 feet is the preferred legal distance, but it is the legally required distance when passing on double yellow line in North Carolina. That one is key to have that state statute listed because we presented this program to the Fayetteville Police Department, and many of them were unaware that it is legal to pass on a double yellow line in the state of North Carolina. So those key pieces, if you're building, again, that change lanes to pass, bicycle is a vehicle, bicycle can use the full lane, common sense driving principles. Things like jaywalking. There is no jaywalking law in North Carolina. It is legal to cross a street mid-block, so long as it is the pedestrian checking to make sure it is clear to do so. Drivers are required to stop at mid-block crossings. This is one of those common sense driving principles that we're always key to cover, and that is slowing down. This slide for me is the one that, if you take nothing else from our presentation, and I tell this to the driver's ed students, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but if you take nothing else away, this is the one, communicating to them that speed limits are there for a reason, and those especially those lower speed zones, 20 to 30 mile an hour speed limits are there because those are shared spaces with pedestrians. You're seeing 20 and 25 mile an hour speed zones in school zones, around college campuses, downtowns, and neighborhoods. That is where you are sharing space with bicycles and pedestrians, and that is why those speed limits are low. And it is that much more important to adhere to those speed limits, because that big takeaway for me is 20 to 30 miles an hour. That 10 mile an hour increase, drivers sometimes assume that they have that 5 to 10 mile an hour cushion where they may not get a ticket, they may not get pulled over. But in that 5 to 10 miles an hour, you are 4 times more likely to kill a pedestrian in a crash. So that is that key content, and that is what we build that foundation around. So jumping back to the sort of history of the program, again, this is funded through a grant through the Governor's Highway Safety Program, originating from NHTSA at the federal level. And again, I mentioned we are presenting this content for approval each year by NCGHSP. And the program has grown pretty organically in its first couple of years. We presented the program to 297 individuals the first year. We grew that to 420. And last year we had a great year with 574. To date, we're 6 months, 7 months into our grant cycle, and we presented to 1,250. So how did that happen? The simple answer is getting our foot in the door with driver's ed programs in the state of North Carolina. That has been the launching pad for us. We've always identified opportunities to present the Friendly Driver program. We will always say we'll present this to 5 people in a library in Apex, North Carolina, if need be. We're happy to do that. But if we can identify opportunities for recurring programs, and that's what driver's ed has really afforded us the opportunity to do. North Carolina is a little different in that there is no unified curriculum or even textbook for driver's education throughout the state. It is done completely on a county by county basis. Um, each county is doing it differently. Some counties manage it within the school system, but a large number of counties, especially the larger municipalities, Mecklenburg County, which is Charlotte, Wake County, which is Raleigh, um, Durham County, obviously Durham, North Carolina, those all go through third-party contractors. In particular, there's a large one called Jordan Driving School. And that is, we've talked about that since the program started. Wouldn't it be great if we could get into Jordan Driving School? But, as a third party, they've got their curriculum. It's a pretty standardized format that they follow. And, the response that we'd received was thanks, but no thanks. So we focused on some of those other opportunities. You can see there with that lack of unified curriculum, there's as little as 3 to 4 pages in these books that cover bicycle and pedestrian content. So what we're looking to do again is bridge that gap in driver's education, fill that gap. And luckily for us, we've had that opportunity. And in particular, with an early younger audience. That's a stated goal as a part of our grant, is to reach younger audiences. And the high school driver's education does just that. Again, Jamie mentioned, having audiences that are smaller, general public audiences. Those are great, and we're happy to do those. When you have that captive audience that you can reach, and especially a younger audience that you can reach, we see that as really, really valuable. So the big step for us is outreach and developing partnerships. A few years ago, we sat in on a meeting of the Winston-Salem Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Through that communication and just that organic networking, someone on that committee knew somebody who knew somebody who was a driver's education instructor. We were put in touch with them, and initially we just went and spoke to his one class, which was a fantastic opportunity. He shared our contact information with this countywide coordinator. We were then able to leverage that, and that has been our greatest area of growth. Again, those numbers jumping from 600 last year to 1,200 just in the first half of this year. Much of that comes through Winston-Salem. But again, building on that, our outreach coordinator then took that story and did a great job of putting together an e-blast that telling the story of how targeting young drivers and really growing this program has helped. Through that, working with Safe Routes to School programs around the state, they put us in touch with Durham County Schools. All of a sudden, we're in with Durham County Schools now for their driver's education. Similarly, Chapel Hill reached out to us. We have a good working relationship with some of the staff members of the town of Chapel Hill. They were able to put us in touch with the superintendent of Chapel Hill Schools. Unfortunately, or fortunately, or unfortunately, what I thought anyway was, came to find out they're a Jordan Driving School community. We may not be able to get in there. But the great news is I was sharing with Jamie and Allison, the exciting news is just yesterday, I received an email from Jordan Driving School for us to come and be a part of their driver's education in Chapel Hill, Carrboro City Schools, as well as Person County Schools. That is our first step into Jordan Driving School, happening just this week. Pretty transformational for our program, really opening the door to an amazing amount of future opportunities for growth for the program. But again, that just comes through that networking piece, identifying opportunities and working with local advocacy groups. Obviously, Jamie's working with organizations within Fort Collins. We have a wide network and a lot of ground to cover looking at the whole state of North Carolina. But we have some great advocacy groups, and leveraging the relationships that we have with those advocacy groups to make the connections in those local communities. And it can take 1, 3, 5, 6 meetings getting passed up the line, and not all of them come to fruition. We've had a few of those kind of burn out and not really turn into anything, but you never know what meeting is going to take that next step and be that next jump. For us, it's been hugely successful to just be persistent and continue to work the channels and work the communication and the relationships that we have, because the growth of that program, again, we really enjoy the opportunity to present to other groups, and we certainly don't want to exclusively focus on high school driver's education, but that's where we found our traction. That's where we found our numbers. So we're taking the ball and running with it there. Just the other week, we took the time to present to an engineering firm in Raleigh, one that has sponsored our North Carolina Summit in the past. And that was a really great opportunity too, because it's a completely different audience. And therefore, again, pulling from that large resource or that large slide deck, being able to tailor a specific program to the specific audience. So that was fascinating and a learning experience for me as well. So, but that opportunity to present to high schools was really what took us to the next level. And again, developing those partnerships and developing those relationships with local advocacy groups has really been the key to that. And then again, taking whatever meetings you can. Jamie mentioned, knocking on, doors of folks just to get that, and that's been our experience as well, as that persistence paying off. And for us, that Jordan Driving School jump should be equal, if not greater, to the jump that we took with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools as well. Some of the additional resources that we offer. So we have developed a North Carolina bicycle safety quiz because we've encountered, especially with Safe Routes to School and some of the other school systems that we've approached, they want to know what we have for a younger audience. So our response to that is the North Carolina Bicycle Safety Quiz. We have an educational quiz targeted at various audiences, but one that's specific to children, young adults, that age group, getting them educated and beginning to build that foundation. So again, having the opportunity to present to those younger audiences and beginning to expose not just younger individuals, but younger drivers to be out there sharing the road is vital and saves lives. That's the takeaway that we have, is reducing injuries and saving lives. That's the stated goal of our grant, and that's what this program really does. And we feel that targeting those younger drivers and the growth within our program and the numbers that we've seen have really, hopefully, are beginning to make a difference in that area. So I'll go ahead and turn it back.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Oliver. Great presentations, very informative. Appreciate you taking the time to put the slides and information together. We have some questions here and some comments. I will take a few and address them to each of you accordingly. The first one I want to address is Jake's. He says, besides the curriculum slides that are handouts, graphics for the public drivers to help spread the tips or social are there handouts, graphics to help spread the tips on social throughout, or have a handy guide for drivers to keep on hand? Jake said, Wisconsin Bike Fed. And I will say that I'll put this to Jamie, then to Oliver. So for the league, we have videos that are public to share, to spread out. They're called Bicycle Friendly Driver videos. A great resource to have on hand and share out with your audiences. So those are on our YouTube channel. And then we also have slides that are in the LCI portal. So our league cycling instructors have access to the slides for Bicycle Friendly Driver. That's created, the slides, or the slide deck is created by the league. Jamie, are there any other resources through the Bicycle Friendly Driver training in Fort Collins?
So we don't have anything specific. We have toyed with the idea though of having like a when we first created it, we talked about creating like a almost like a business card or something like that that folks could, you know, take away, that had kind of the high level points on it. But we don't necessarily have anything specific like that. What we do send them with is the certificate. We do the sticker, and then we also have a little we created a little like window cling that's like, you know, that fits on your mirror, your rear view mirror, so that you know, if you're looking in the rear view mirror, you can even put it on the windshield to kind of remind you like, hey, I'm a bicycle friendly driver. So it was more that kind of thing, and then using those as our way to kind of, you know, have people asking questions about what is that, and then looking into taking the training themselves, or the word of mouth piece of it to kind of spread the word. But Jake and I've actually talked about that. I think it's a great idea to create something almost like the little Smart Cycling Quick Guide, but for Bicycle Friendly Driver, I think would be a great addition to the materials. But yeah, Oliver, I don't know what you have in your community.
So we've, you know, our outreach coordinator, Kylie Robinson, has, you know, she's skilled in the social media platforms and Canva to create content. So what she's done is basically just taken individual slides from the Friendly Driver program and built social media posts just around that. You know, how to avoid dooring crashes, you know, a bicycle is a vehicle, changing lanes to pass. Those just create, or just building a single social media post around whatever that piece of content is. And then one thing that we've identified just from being in the driver's ed classrooms around the state, or these, you know, each high school that we go into, the classroom that we're in tends to be sort of the driver's ed classroom. There's things on the wall about, you know, railroad crossings and different signage and educational materials around safe driving and learning to drive. So we've identified just creating little pieces, again, little small posters, 11 by 17, slightly larger, of basically just having one of those slides, the information off of one of those slides from the Friendly Driver program, just visualized and put up in a classroom, just as a reminder and a visual of having been there, and a reminder of that content. So that's what we've focused on. We have some business cards that sort of just promote the Friendly Driver program that we pass out at events. It's two-sided business card. We've got the bicycle safety quiz on the front, and Friendly Driver program on the back. Somebody can take that, scan a QR code, and learn more about the program through that.
Great, thanks. Jay had a comment, which I think is fairly universal for a lot of people when they think of motorists, is that it's a hard sell to tell drivers that they need to treat cyclists with respect and care when they're maybe in a community without any infrastructure, and roadway design can encourage speeding by giving drivers straight, wide lanes and nothing to slow them down. So I hear this a lot. I'm sure you both hear this a lot, Jamie and Oliver. Personally, I think from the league's perspective, you know, this kind of thing, just, you know, we are in a tough job. Like this is a challenging profession in bike advocacy. So the little seeds that are planted, such as this, can grow to make a really big impact. And I think Oliver's and Jamie's presentations both display that pretty well. But for you both at the local level, what's your typical response when you hear something like that? Jamie, do you want to start?
Sure. So when we're dealing with individual, I guess, organizations or something who might have resistance to it, for us, it's about really catering it to the safety aspect and really looking at how do you make sure that your drivers are safe and keeping others safe as well. But I would say that to Jay's point about communities that don't have the infrastructure and stuff, like in Fort Collins, we're definitely a bicycle friendly community, and so we kind of have a little bit of a different culture here. But I have taught this in many other communities that don't have that same culture already in place and infrastructure in place. But what I would say is that this training and is a really good way to get in there to start the conversation that then hopefully builds the momentum around, hey, we actually need that infrastructure, helps build the momentum for people advocating for it. It's like as they learn more about what's possible, I think that really helps to build the case for someone going to city council or whatever it is and saying, hey, we really need these bike lanes, we really need protected infrastructure, we need this stuff because it helps make the roadways more predictable for everyone. So to me, this education piece is really a good to get more of that support in your community.
Yeah, and towards the end of our presentation, we always wrap up with a section of the presentation called Reducing Conflict Through Better Design. And we introduce the kind of concept of a complete street and basically communicate that this is this infrastructure that you're going to encounter out on the roadway. When a bike lane is a bike lane versus when a bike lane has green paint, does it mean something different? When you see those broken lines in a bike lane, what does that translate to? So really introducing them to those concepts and introducing what infrastructure they're going to encounter out there just to make them more aware. And then as far as just having it resonate that much more, or when you're talking about 4-lane roads, I use examples out in front of the schools. Several of these schools are on big 4-lane divided or 4-lane center turn lane roads that are built like highways, but there's 25-mile-an-hour school zone out front, obviously, on that road. How does that look and how does that work? What are their experiences, and really communicating that to the students and those that we're giving the presentation to, adding context to it. As you pull into a school, looking around and saying, all right, what am I seeing here? How can I teach them that? And then unfortunately, we have a real example. This is something we wish we didn't have to say, but one of the high school teachers at one of the high schools where we present, he was out for 6 months. Luckily, was survived, but he was struck by a car while riding his bike last summer and didn't return to work till January. Just communicating that these are people, these are teachers, these are friends, these are people just trying to get where they're going safely. Communicating that driving is expensive. People, either by choice or by necessity, not everyone can afford to drive, and we need to be able to provide transportation opportunities for everyone.
Great. Okay, I'm going to combine two questions. I think this will be the last one. I have two quick announcements at the end. Anything on e-bikes in the bicycle-friendly driver training? E-bikes are really popular now. And then have you seen any BF bicycle-friendly driver training associated with earth stewardship or the environmental kind of events that happen in communities? Oliver, why don't you go first, and then we'll hear from Jamie.
Starting with that earth friendly, we've worked with the Conservation Network of North Carolina just as a from a lobbying side of things on a few pieces. But as far as bicycle friendly driver content specifically, we did table at an Earth Day event a few years ago, but no direct engagement related to that. And what was that first part again?
E-bikes. Do you talk about e-bikes in your class?
We talk a little bit. I talk a little bit more about the scooters and just e-bikes and scooters and contextualizing that. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot to share from a statewide perspective in North Carolina because a lot of that is sort of managed and being dealt with at a local level as far as the rules and laws that apply to those as far as greenways and sidewalks and bike lanes and where they're allowed and where they're not. But I do sort of introduce those concepts and understanding.
Similar to Oliver, we've incorporated, scooter information and some level of e-bike information, but it's not necessarily a focus. The principles are the same. The principles are really the same. And so I feel like that when we're teaching these principles, and honestly, even, some of the stuff applies to pedestrians as well. It's just, it's about how you talk about it. So when we're teaching it, we're talking about, what is the difference with the, e-bikes and e-scooters and things like that? Well, it's really a speed factor. And, Oliver shares the slide about speed. We talk about that. So now when you have two vehicles that are traveling faster, that's a lot of it. So I would say we would focus on it from that angle, a little bit about what's allowed and where, but I would say it's not a major focus because I feel like that the general concepts are transferable no matter what kind of bike or kind of scooter you might be utilizing. So there's that. And then the question about the churches and synagogues and the stewardship kind of events. So we'll do it anywhere. We'll offer it to anyone. And I think that I would encourage Mari, who posts a question, to reach out to those groups, because anytime you can get a group of people together interested in taking this kind of a training, I would encourage you to ask the question. And so have we specifically done that? I'm not sure if Lauren has with the city of Fort Collins, but we've certainly done some work with some local churches here where they actually have our Walk and Wheel Skills Hub. It's like a traffic garden for, in their parking lot. And so we're good partners with them. But there may be, any avenue that you can figure out to kind of get an in. I would encourage you to take advantage of that and have those conversations. And really it's about, hey, how do you keep all your people safe even when they're coming to your organization?
Great, thanks. And then I want to give a big thank you to Oliver and Jamie. I also want to give a big thanks to our summit sponsors, the Silver Level and Up, who make this webinar and other webinars in our series possible. So a big thanks to those groups. Also wanted to share Oliver's slide because I forgot to advance my slides as I was introducing Oliver. And thanks to both of you. And then my final announcement is sign up for more webinars. These are great. Even if you sign up and you can't make it, we'll send you the recording, and they're always posted on our website if you've missed something or you just can't make it. So there's a QR code on our upcoming webinars, which are all really amazing and beneficial to communities working towards better bicycling infrastructure and education in their community. So thank you all for participating, and we'll see you on the next webinar.